At the same time, you got the IMF comes out and says just last week that the world economic order is undergoing currently a major reset. I mean, all of these things together, Andrew, you put them together and it tells me that there is something much bigger in store for gold than the world is prepared to understand or accept. And that's why you see the biggest, smartest money in the world. It's not just that they're the wealthiest, these central banks and sovereign wealth funds, but they're the most well-informed. And to me, that's currency that you can't put a price tag on. Information ahead of the crowd is worth so much. But yet they seem to be dropping crumbs. You know, when Trump says he who has the gold makes the rules. I mean, really? When have you ever heard a president say anything like that? So I don't know. I think this is going to be a very interesting few years, maybe more so in a different way than the last four.
The global economic system, as we've known it for over 80 years, is undergoing a profound transformation. This isn't speculation, it's the language now being used by the International Monetary Fund. In a recent report, IMF chief economist Pierre-Olivier Gourinchas stated plainly that the world is entering a new era, one where the existing rules of the global economic order are rapidly being challenged, and no clear alternatives have yet emerged. At the heart of this shift is a dramatic rise in trade protectionism. Since January, the United States has introduced an aggressive series of tariffs targeting countries like Canada, China, and Mexico, as well as several critical sectors. Predictably, major trading partners have responded in kind, leading to a surge in global tariffs and growing instability in the world trade system. The IMF calls this moment one of epistemic uncertainty, a striking term that captures the full extent of the disruption. It suggests more than just market volatility or economic slowdown. It points to a deeper confusion about the rules, assumptions, and even the metrics we use to understand the global economy. Amid this uncertainty, a growing number of well-informed actors are quietly shifting their strategies. Central banks and sovereign wealth funds around the world have been steadily increasing their gold reserves. These are not just the wealthiest institutions on the planet, they are also among the most informed. And their actions suggest a long-term repositioning, not just a short-term hedge. Precious metals analyst Andy Schectman believes this is no coincidence. In a recent interview, he connects the dots between the IMF's language, global trade fragmentation, and the behavior of large monetary authorities. Andy argues that gold is being remonetized in slow motion, positioned to play a key role in a post-reset world. As he puts it, he who has the gold makes the rules, a sentiment echoed recently by former President Donald Trump, in a rare public acknowledgement of gold's enduring strategic power. We'll now show you key clips from that interview where Andy lays out his case in detail. If you're finding this coverage valuable, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who follow the gold market, and subscribe for more expert insights. And be sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We appreciate the support.
I think that picking a number is very challenging. Of course, you have Goldman Sachs saying as high as $4,500. You have other mainstream pundits saying 3,700 to 4,000 in that range. Talking about gold reaching a level, in the thousands of dollars higher than where we are right now is not that outlandish. First of all, if we were to look at the United States becoming a net importer of gold, I don't ever remember it being a net importer of gold. There were 1 or 2 years where we did have net imports, but not like we are seeing now, where more gold has been imported to the United States since January than at any time since the end of World War II, when we took over for the pound sterling at the Bretton Woods Agreement. Everyone sent us their gold. Something big is happening with gold. And of course, you see Trump's tweet the other day on Easter Sunday. He says, the golden rule of negotiating success, he who has the gold makes the rules. Thank you. You see talk of revaluing gold, which was held in the gold revaluation account. That's actually the name of it, which you can't make up, whether it be the head of the Bundesbank or the Dutch National Bank or members of the governing board of the Bundesbank, whether we talk of Judy Shelton, Trump's former nominee to run the Fed in 2016, who advocates for 50-year treasuries backed by gold, or the Treasury Secretary currently of the United States, who largest holding was gold while running a hedge fund, and is prior to becoming the Treasury Secretary, and is a self-proclaimed gold bug. There's so many things happening that make you wonder and think. Now, to Jan's point, it would certainly benefit the United States and all the central banks to see gold revalued to a much higher level, whether it be by the market slowly, as we've seen, slow and steady, tremendous appreciation that's gone unnoticed by the mainstream, which is really shocking to me, which tells me we're still very early in the game, or something more dramatic where, they come in and revalue gold. Every $4,000 increase in the price of gold gives the Treasury General account $1 trillion free and clear. So, you see gold at levels of, 4,000, 8,000, 12,000, whatever that number is, at $12,000 an ounce. And I think that's the number that James Rickards came up with. You're giving $3 trillion free and clear to the Treasury General account. I did a little bit of math myself after watching a great video by Mike Maloney. So Mike Maloney's video talked about when gold was backing the currency prior to 33 over my shoulder there. It was just backing M1, which is the notes in circulation. M2 is a broader measure of the money supply. They got rid of M3. They said it was archaic. So currently the broadest measure that we have access to is M2. And that's largely credit. It's 92% credit. So when you look at your bank account and you see $50,000 in there, that's credit. That's M2. The bank owes you the notes, they promise to pay it to you, but M1 is the currency in circulation. M2 is only 8% currency, 92% credit. So when gold was backing the dollar prior to 33, it was backing M1. If you take M1 right now, 2,365 billion and divide it by the 261 million ounces we supposedly have, you get $9,044 an ounce. Could that happen? Yeah, why not? I mean, why not? Why not revalue gold to a level high enough to start to whittle down the debt and benefit the central banks on the planet who, for the last, really since 2017, have been on a binge buying and repatriating, and largely because of many of the things that you've talked about for years that enlightened me, namely the reclassification of gold, the tier 1 status, and the importance of owning an asset. In essence, is if you had gold at $8,000 an ounce, the Treasury would issue gold certificates to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve would, in essence, just create that money and give it to the Treasury General account. They now would have, at 8,000, they would have $2 trillion free and clear to do with as they see fit. Those certificates do not give the Federal Reserve access or a call on the nation's gold. It's the fiat equivalent of it. So it's kind of an accounting gimmick, to say the least.
What you've just heard is more than a forecast. It's a window into the mechanics of global monetary restructuring. When someone like Andy Schectman draws attention to gold revaluation accounts, M1 money supply, and accounting strategies that could inject trillions into the Treasury without issuing new debt, he's revealing a side of fiscal policy few in mainstream finance dare to touch. This isn't about speculation or market hype. It's about how trust, credit, and sovereign balance sheets might be quietly recalibrated using an asset with no counterparty risk. As nations grapple with mounting debt, shrinking confidence in fiat systems, and deepening geopolitical fragmentation, gold is re-emerging as a strategic tool, not just for protection, but for power. The world's central banks know this. Their buying behavior, their repatriation of reserves, and their silence around revaluation are not coincidental. These are the signs of a system preparing for transition, one that may come gradually, or one that may arrive all at once. As we continue, consider this. Gold's true value may not lie in its market price today, but in the role it's being positioned to play tomorrow. Because in a financial reset, the asset that anchors confidence will ultimately define who gets to write the new rules. Let's get back to the video.
At the same time, you got the IMF comes out and says just last week that the world economic order is undergoing currently a major reset. I mean, all of these things together, Andrew, you put them together and it tells me that there is something much bigger in store for gold than the world is prepared to understand or accept. And that's why you see the biggest, smartest money in the world. It's not just that they're the wealthiest, these central banks and sovereign wealth funds, but they're the most well informed. And to me, that's currency that you can't put a price tag on. Information ahead of the crowd is worth so much. But yet they seem to be dropping crumbs. When Trump says he who has the gold makes the rules. I mean, really? When have you ever heard a president say anything like that? So I don't know. I think this is going to be a very interesting few years, maybe more so in a different way than the last. This is a little bit kind of connecting dots that maybe I'm just trying to find a way to connect them. But about 5 weeks ago, I have a friend who belongs to Trump International Golf Course in West Palm Beach. He brought me golfing there, and Trump was there playing with Ron DeSantis. The Secret Service there, with dogs and the whole 9 yards. And they talk, right? I mean, Trump lives in Florida. They talk, he and DeSantis. And so I think it's interesting that they just passed, it just needs to be signed now by the governor who said he's going to sign it. That gold and silver are now going to be maybe the most comprehensive bill in the country, legal tender in the state of Florida. Anyways, American Gold Eagles qualify as legal tender. The bill recognizes gold and silver coins issued by the U.S. mint with high purity like gold eagles and silver eagles as forms of legal tender within the state. State acceptance is optional. Florida agencies may accept gold and silver for payments like taxes or fees. We're beginning to see states move this way too. Utah and Texas and Wyoming and now Florida, Oklahoma. You're seeing states in the United States embrace gold and silver as legal tender. You're seeing the United States become a massive importer. Gold is tier one. Something's changing, Andrew, with gold and silver. And to me, that's just the bottom line. I mean, that's a name for your thumbnail. Something is changing with gold and silver. There's no question about it. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but you're right. That volatility, that round trip volatility, which seems to continually step up a little higher, but that volatility is enough to make everyone bail. We saw the exact same thing about 4 weeks ago. Gold shot up. It got knocked down $200, shot right back up to 3,500. It gets knocked down and it will climb right back up. I mean, it's the nonsense, numbers like on inflation, where we're supposed to believe that in inflation, the numbers just came out, have cooled down. They haven't cooled down at all. And it's the measurements by which we gauge inflation is nonsense. Or when we talk about silver getting nuked straight through the floor with zero news in the middle at 4 a.m. Eastern time, that's not price discovery. That's price demolition. And it's an algo smash. And again, this is done for effect. And maybe it is done so some of these banks can get their house in order, at least in terms of buying at a muted price in order to, or to knock that funds out, to drop the price, to cover their shorts with physical, to become Basel III compliant. I don't know what it is. The volatility doesn't bother me. There's something under the surface, and there's sprinkles of information by the people in the know that tell me this time it's different. I really do believe that it is different, and the world understands it. And fortunately, I do believe this new administration understands it as well.
As we stand on the threshold of what may become a historic reordering of the global financial system, one thing is increasingly clear. Gold is no longer just a relic of the past. It is re-emerging as a silent force in the strategies of the world's most powerful institutions. From central banks increasing their reserves at a record pace to subtle yet deliberate policy signals about gold-backed instruments and monetary resets, the evidence is mounting. Gold is being redefined, not just as a store of value. Whether this revaluation unfolds gradually through market forces or is catalyzed by a coordinated monetary shift, the implications are profound. For nations drowning in debt, gold offers a potential path to stability. For investors paying attention, it represents more than a hedge. It's a foothold in the next monetary era. The question now isn't whether gold will matter. It's how soon the world will admit just how much it already does. If today's video has given you valuable insights into the gold market and its complexities, make sure to like this video so others can benefit from the discussion as well. Share it with anyone you know who's following the gold market or interested in understanding the deeper dynamics at play. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more expert commentary and analysis that dives into the trends shaping the financial world today. Thanks for watching.